Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. You can check me out on Twitter at Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, and Google+, and also on Periscope at Total Tutor. And I'm really, really excited to welcome to the program Margaret Isa Butler. Margaret, thanks for calling, and how are you?
I'm great, and I'm very happy to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a bit of your bio, and we have so many different things to discuss in your career and stuff like that, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, happy to. Most of the day I spend as a lawyer. I do transactions for the private equity industry and the real estate industry, so mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, and some of the other things I do outside of my time as a lawyer are I like to bring people together, and I organize groups for professionals who do what I do, and also for women who want to impact the world in a great way.
So you have a bunch of different things. So tell us the story of how you became a lawyer. When you were young, you wanted to be a lawyer? Tell us all about that.
No, it is one of those convoluted, crazy stories. I thought I wanted to be a journalist. And when I was in college, I took an internship at the Wall Street Journal, and I was writing for the money and investing section. And in order to improve my writing, one of my colleagues there suggested that I read Barbarians of the Gate, which is an excellent business book. And I read it, and I learned a lot about business, and I decided I wanted to be one of the folks doing the deals, like in that book. So I went off to school. I got a law degree and a business degree, and I became a transactional lawyer.
Starting out as a lawyer, what do you think are the biggest challenges when you begin in law, after law school and passing the bar? What do you think is that challenge?
I think it is probably not unlike every career, right? You have to work very, very hard to learn and become good at what you do, and that's what I tell all the young people.
Yeah.
You need to step up when there's opportunity, right? So I always found that I learned the most on holiday weekends when other people wanted to leave the office, and I got to step up and handle their deals for them. And that never ends, as you know. You keep working very hard, but I think that's how you get ahead.
I definitely do think it is. It's the hard work. You have to put the time and effort and study into this, right? Especially your cases, to really understand things and prepare, because the other person that you're going against is preparing as well, right?
Absolutely, and everybody's excellent, right? Your clients are excellent at what they do. You're surrounded by smart, high-achieving people, and everybody has to perform at that level in order to have a really great outcome for the team.
And that's the other part of the team aspect. But when you're preparing, what do you think is the minor details a very important part of this, especially when you have a case and you're looking at how you're going to help that client to win, and you're looking at all the little minor details because of the preparation of the other person on the other side?
It's both. I do transactions, which is a little bit different than litigation, because obviously if you're in court, somebody is going to win, right?
Right.
Even though you can sometimes get to an outcome that's good for everybody. When you're doing a deal, like you're buying or selling a company, or you're combining with another person to do an investment, right, to develop a building or to develop a new section of a city, there is a competitive element, because you have to make sure that your rights are protected, and that you're going to get from the deal what you need to get from it. But there's also the collaborative element. At the end of the day, you're really both working towards the same goal. So you do have to know the details. They know the details.
Right.
There's no substitute for that. But then it's also, for me, it's really once you've done all that work.
Exactly.
Right? Once you've become very good at the technical aspect, it's about being able to communicate with other people, know who to turn to for various different pieces of it, be able to manage all the tensions that can happen when everybody's working under very tight time constraints, in a very important situation. So it's about being I think a good person and a good team player, as much as it is about being excellent in your knowledge of law and of business.
Interesting. So you represent businesses, you real estate, represent people in transactions. So you're talking about real estate transactions to different things. So someone's looking to buy a building, then you're representing that person to make sure that their best interests are in heart. Is that the kind of stuff that you're talking about? Kind of educating people
It's
more on the transaction.
no,
Yeah.
that's right. It is that, and it's also if somebody is going to develop a new building. For instance, I worked on the joint venture to develop Hudson Yards, which is a very large development in New York City,
Okay.
and it's really historic in its impact. Well, so you're negotiating against your counterpart, right? But your
Okay.
counterpart is also your partner. They're the person that you're going to be in this with going forward.
Yes.
So it's balancing, looking out for yourself, but in looking out for yourself, you're also looking out for the team, and making sure that everyone is going to have a good outcome in the end.
And looking out basically for your client's best interest, and basically that the deal or whatever thing doesn't have any loopholes where someone comes back and sues them, or where it ends up being
Well, that's right.
the buyer beware too, almost like a lemon law in a way. You're making sure that everything doesn't cost that your client any money, meaning extra money that could be really just bad for the business or the organization, right?
That's right. So you want to make sure that everybody understands everything that's going on, right? If there are risks, you want everybody to understand them and to know up front how those are going to be handled,
Yes.
because this is your partner, right? So you want to have a system in place, and you want to have agreements in place for all the complexities that are undoubtedly going to come up during the life of the deal.
Now, and we're going to definitely get into your internet involving women and your passion for women in the second segment, but I'm still trying to get to understand your journey, because you are empowering other women to know they can be successful like yourself. So you started out just working as a transactions lawyer. How did you kind of build yourself up to your own business and your own firm in so many ways, and then growing into even more and more different ventures in your career? Tell us kind of how that journey started and how you did that.
That's a very good question, and I'm happy to share the story. I do have my own business in the sense that I am a partner at a law firm, and
Yes.
I'm responsible for my own clients and my own area of the business, but I'm also part of a much bigger team. I'm a partner at Greenberg Traurig. So for me, that's part of it, right?
Yes.
It's about knowing who you partner with and you team with. I started after school at a very prominent law firm that does almost exclusively mergers and acquisitions. And I learned there for a long time. And then I decided I wanted to learn more about what my clients were doing and kind of get closer to the action. I thought that would help me develop as a professional. So I went and became an investment banker for 3 years.
Oh my.
And
Okay.
yeah, so that experience I thought was actually very helpful, because now I came back to the practice of law, but when I look at a deal, I'm able to see a lot of different elements of it. So I understand all the legal issues, obviously, but then I can put myself in my client's position and understand the financials and understand what their
Right.
incentives are in trying to get the deal done. So for me, that was actually a game changer in my career. It was, even though that was a short-lived experience for 3 years,
Yeah.
it was very meaningful to me in my development. And after that, I came back to the practice of law, and just as things develop, right? My husband is a real estate developer.
Okay.
So people automatically assumed that I would know about real estate development, and that gave me, I think, opportunities in that area, which were great, because I was learning about the business my whole life because I was married to him, and then I learned from a legal perspective. And that's really just created a virtuous cycle, because my friends are in that business, and my law firm now, Greenberg
Yeah.
Traurig, has an excellent real estate practice. So in many ways, a lot of things in my life have come together to an area that has both personal and professional meaning for me, and that's when you do your best work.
Well, I like that, and I want to jump back and being an investment banker, going from being a lawyer in transactions to jumping into that. I know that is just a around the clock work type of job, right? As an investment banker, you're going,
It is.
right? Kind of. How did you kind of get that job from being in law? That it's a little different type of hours, wouldn't you say, and different type of work environment, right?
only a little different, right? I think a lot of how we approach our careers is how we approach everything, right? Some people
Yes.
are just go, go, go.
Go, go,
and
go.
I'm go, go, go. So
Right.
I was always working around the clock, whether I was practicing law or in investment banking. I'm still working around the clock, right? Because when I'm not doing a deal, I'm hosting an event or
Oh, yeah.
speaking with you. So, I think individuals have energy levels
Yes.
and things they like to do, and I like to do all this stuff. So for me, it's not, it doesn't tire me out. It energizes me.
Yeah, and see that's interesting. And so you basically, as a lawyer, were working like an investment banker, even though it was a different thing. So you did this for a couple of years, and then you jumped right back into it. Was it a reason of educating yourself, or you just wanted to try something different? It seems like you're always constantly moving into more different directions. It's going further and further ahead, and yeah.
It's a little hard for me to unpack that, right? I'm not sure. It seemed like it would be exciting, and that it would get me additional knowledge, and that it would get me to understand my clients' motivations and drives a little better. And it was when I went into it, I went into it, right? And that's what I was going to do. It was kind of the timing in the market. It was 2007 when I started as an investment banker. It was 2010 when I left. It wasn't a great moment to be a banker, and I realized, well, I am a lawyer. I can certainly go back and do that. And so I went back to the practice of law, and that's been 6 years now, and I've never looked back.
That's great. And so the transition to becoming a partner and also have your own business, how do you go about doing something like that? Then we're going to get into the whole part about your different events you plan and how you're really empowering other women. But before we take a break, I wanted that question.
I think it's a lot of hard work, like everything else,
yes.
right? I tend to attribute everything to hard work.
That's great.
Hard work alone doesn't, no, it is great, right? Because it's people who work hard,
move up the ladder. Yes, exactly.
Work, right? So I do think that's a big part of it. And some of it is just learning and maturing,
yes.
right? I always tell my young lawyers, it's going to take you 10 years to become a lawyer, right? You think you're a lawyer because you graduated from law
yes.
school, but, in the beginning you know a little, and later on you know a little more. But for it to all come together and for you to get to the next step, that just takes time. And there's no substitute for time that you invest. And so it's time in number of years, and then also hours that you put in, and you make sure that your time is spent wisely learning and making sure that you can develop the skills you need to move on to learn the next skill set that you need.
And that's true. So when we get back, we're going to continue to have a conversation with Margaret Isa Butler. And we're going to talk about specifically enough some of the things that she's doing philanthropically, helping women, empowering them, teaching them basically to be as successful as she was and learn the word. I think it's one of the things she defines. Her life is hard work from talking to her the first segment. You're watching The Neil Haley Show and are live on the Total Education Network. And when we get back, more interesting conversation about why continue to help others. What was her driving force and to plan these events when she has such a busy practice and busy business she has to take care of. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Hi, everybody. Al Levine, the Talking Machine here. Guess what time it is? It's time for the second annual Designer Bag Bingo. Join us Friday, May 6th at the Bethel Park Community Center. Doors open at 6:30 p.m.
Tickets are $25 each and are available at the Bethel Park Public Library
and at EV True Value Hardware.
Proceeds from the Designer Bag Bingo benefit the Bethel Park Volunteer Scholarship Fund, administered through the Bethel Park Community Foundation. The bags are on display at the Bethel Park Public Library if you'd like to get a peek at them before the event.
For more information, call 412-831-3304.
Join us May 6th for the second annual Designer Bag Bingo.
All I wanted was just one book.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show, also live on the Total Education Network. You can check me out on Twitter at Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, Google Plus, and also on Periscope. And I'm with Margaret Isa Butler. Margaret, now let's talk about how you already had too much on your plate. So why events, planning, doing all these things, and teaching other women? What was that driving force that led you in that direction?
This particular direction, I think it's because I like people, right?
Yes.
If I can have events and spend time with people, that's great for me. Different people might go about doing different things, but I think the underlying motivations, I think there are two of them, and one of them is just we all have a responsibility to make the world, as good as we can make
Yes.
it, right? And to everything that we took when we were taking, give back when we're in a position to give. So that's really that is the number one driver. I think we all have a responsibility, and it's beyond a responsibility. It's a pleasure to be able to impact the world and try to change it in the direction you want.
Definitely. Impact the world and change it the way you want to change it. I completely agree with you in so many ways in that situation. And what do you think? It was interesting. I was talking to Linda McMahon, the former CEO of the WWE, a couple weeks ago about how she's helping women out, and she feels that some women still don't believe that they have the opportunities to go where they need to go. They've not been trained business-wise enough and how to run their own business and to understand specifically they can have both roles in life and that they can go further. They just have to have those skills, the skill set necessary. So what do you feel that women need to start to develop to grow so that they can continue to grow professionally?
Well, the particular idea that led to these salons that I'm doing now for women is the notion that, especially, frankly, women that work very hard in these
Yes.
very intense jobs, we develop these silos, and if you're a doctor, all your friends are doctors, and if you're a lawyer, all your friends are lawyers.
Yeah.
And I thought that if we bring together women who do entirely different things, who might not even necessarily meet, but they all have that same drive, and they want to learn, and they want to come up with really creative solutions to the problems that face the world, right? That the best way to do that is to mix them up and just have them learn from each other, right? The things that one person does well and has learned about in their career is different from the things that another person has encountered.
Yes.
So if we put them in the same room and they talk, they're going to be able to come up with creative new things, and I think those are the real game changers, the things that will add value to their own careers, but also, have the potential to really change the world.
I was talking to someone else told me the same thing about collaboration, that sometimes women are a little more hesitant to do it at times. They keep to themselves in certain ways, especially millennial women. I was talking to someone who is really pushing the education of millennial women and entrepreneurship and stuff. Do you agree with me in that way, that at times they keep themselves and got to learn that collaboration is such an important key aspect, especially with different businesses, to learn what are the little secrets to continue moving forward?
I don't know about collaboration. I actually think women are very collaborative. I think there are specific skills that we learn from different activities, and depending on the activities we engage in, we learn different things. My young son, I have a 6-year-old, is a hockey player, and he plays on a team, right? And this team dynamic is at the center of his life. So I don't have another child, but if I had a daughter, I would also have her play on a team, because I think that's a really good experience, and that's something that teaches kind of the values that I want to teach and would carry them through for the rest of their lives. So I just think it's a matter of, for women or for men, making sure that you seek out the experiences that
Yeah.
play well with your values and are going to help you develop in a way that gets you where you want to go.
Now, I'm talking about the values. So you use the word values.
Yes.
Explain why that's important in business, to have certain values that you value as a person going forward in the workplace.
Oh, I can't even imagine a world where that's not important, right?
Yes.
But it's important because we're all human beings, and
Yes.
at the end of the day, we have to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, I like the person that I see, and a good job, right? But in business in particular, your reputation is key.
Oh, it's so
And
key.
Absolutely. So if you don't exemplify values that other people can respect, people won't do business with you, period. And
They won't.
that's not, you can't succeed without that.
To have good character, define values in a way of some of the values you try to teach at the events you promote. What types of things do you try to bring to them that are good values that make a successful business or a better worker or manager or whatever that they go into?
Absolutely. And I'll start by saying that these women are amazing and they all have fantastic values, and I respect them
Yes.
tremendously. One of the things that we try to do is just inspire a
Yes.
little bit. So at one salon, we had my friend Melissa Gregory, who was a United States Olympian. She was a figure skater.
Oh, okay.
And now, among many other things that she does, because she's also a very hard worker,
Mm-hmm.
she has a nonprofit that runs the Eduskating program, which teaches the Olympic values to
Okay.
children. And so she teaches them not just figure skating, but also academic skills and teamwork skills.
Yes.
And so what better way for me to share with other people the values that I believe in than to say, take a look at my friend who's doing these wonderful things. I honor her and I support her.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
And go ahead.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm just listening. Yes.
Yeah, so at a different event, because I think there are different ways to live your good values, right? I had another friend come and speak about impact investing, because I think impact investing is an incredibly important complement to philanthropy. And so she spoke about how, in addition to doing the good works that we do charitably by giving money, we can choose to invest some of our money in ways that, in addition to garnering a financial return, have a positive impact on the world, be that the environment or society, whatever
Okay.
positive impacts we value. And so that's a nice compliment, because obviously we all have limits on how philanthropic we can be, even with our best intentions, right? And wanting to maximize that impact. So when you combine that with making your financial investments in ways that have the sort of impact on the world that you want to see, then you can, your dollar goes further, right? You can
Exactly.
stretch out the amount of good that you do.
Give me some examples of that. I'm interested in hearing that, of some of the impact investing type of things you can do.
Oh, you can do so many things. It's really amazing. So I'll start, I think, what we as individuals can do, right? And it can be in any sector. So for some people, clean energy is very important, environmental conservation. For other people, including myself, because of my real estate and infrastructure background, social infrastructure, so you can invest in facilities for schools or hospitals.
Okay.
Some people want to do microfinance, to lend money to tiny businesses in the developing world to allow them to move on to the next level. Or you can invest in healthcare or education. So really, there's a huge range of investments that you might consider impact investments, depending on what you choose to focus on. And you can do it in many, many different ways. You can take as little as $20 and invest in the Calvert Foundation's Community Investment Note. And basically, they aggregate money from all sorts of people who want to do good. And they take your $20, they combine it with everybody else's $20.
Oh,
they
wow.
put it into a project that's going to do good. Yeah, and then you get your $20 back at the end, right? So that's at a level that is accessible to virtually everyone. But on the other, as we go kind of up the amounts, You can invest in public stocks of companies you believe in. You can invest in debt to either those good mission-driven businesses or nonprofits. Nonprofits also borrow money. You can invest in venture capital or private equity investments, right?
Yeah,
In
exactly.
companies that you believe are going to change the world. Again, you can invest to develop schools, hospitals, facilities like that. And then there are the huge ones. There are things like social impact bonds, which is where the government works with nonprofits and investors to develop a bond that basically pays out the savings that the government gets if certain social interventions are successful. So if you do a bond like that to, minimize prison rates and the results down the line are good and your intervention worked, then the government shares with the investors the savings that the government gets from having put in place that investment. So there's just a huge range, and you can feel good about what you're doing. It's sustainable.
It is,
you can continue to invest the money. When you get it back, it provides opportunities for partnering with government to solve really big problems, right? Like in the energy sector, and this is not for individual investors, but it's still fascinating. In connection with the United Nations Climate Change Conference in December, a group of large private investors announced the Breakthrough Energy Coalition. And those investors include folks like Bill Gates and Meg Whitman. And what they did was they committed patient capital to catalyzing very early-stage technology that would help develop clean energy solutions.
Interesting,
and they partnered with government. Yeah, it's really fascinating because the 20 countries that participated also committed to investing in this. So it has a very high level of cooperation between governments and the private sector, and you can only do it this way because otherwise there's no incentive for developing this new revolutionary technology. They won't see a profit from it yet because till
it finally makes money. Exactly, and at one point it will, and then then your investment, but then also you're impacting the world, and that's so important because of our global society. Now, your salons, how many of those events do you plan a year?
I am still trying to figure out what the optimal number is because folks are very busy, and I do other sorts of events too. I think the next one at this point is going to be May because it was going to be April, but April is rapidly coming upon me. So the next one will be May, and it'll be the same sort of thing. We'll have all these excellent women, more excellent women who find their way to us, or who I'm able to find, or my friends recommend, and another kind of game-changing snippet of inspiration, right? Be it somebody who's doing something philanthropic or somebody who's doing something in the private sector that just deserves our respect.
All right, best place to find information on you. Is there a place we can check you out and learn more about you, Margaret?
Absolutely. You can find my official biography as a lawyer at www.gtlaw.com. And I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, and my handle is MISABUTLER, so Misa Butler. Find me there.
Well, fantastic. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate the conversation. You're doing some tremendous things. And you taught me about a different type of law that I had no idea about. So you always learn something every day. I never knew about that. So thanks again for calling. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. You're watching the Neil Haley Show. Thanks again for watching the show and listening live. And we'll be back next week and live very soon. Take care, everyone.